Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy Nick back at you with my face for radio and some facts for the day about the spooky airwaves. Today we are talking about Beyond Midnight. That's a South African radio show that we've talked about before. I believe the episode that we talked about before was Short Circuit. But Beyond Midnight was a show that was again, in South Africa, played on Springbok Radio, which was their broadcasting system from 1950 for about 30 years to sometime in the 80s. And it was produced by Michael McCabe. It was a replacement for the show SF-68, which was obviously more of a science fiction bent. And Beyond Midnight lent itself to, of course, a lot of science fiction stories, but also more supernatural. And so that brings us to today's episode. What we're talking about is the episode The Thing in Cabin 105, or alternative titles include All at Sea and Upper Berth. So this was written by, oh man, what is the name of the author? It's going to kill me. F. Marion. It's going to be right in the description on YouTube. I'm just going to say F. Marion because I don't remember his last name. So F. Marion was born in 1854, lived to 1910. He was born in Tuscany, Italy. He was the son of a sculptor, and he actually was an American. He ended up, I think his mother wanted him to be an operatic baritone, but when he went to the Boston Symphony, they concluded that he could never sing in pitch. He had, at some point in his 20s, gone to India and studied Sanskrit a lot. And so his uncle at the time had suggested to him, hey, why don't you start writing and talk about your experiences in India? So we did, and he became a writer, was very successful at that, and then started writing other short stories, one of which is The Thing in Cabin 105. And the story centers around a man who is going on a ship. In the cabin that he's in, they tell him that the last 4 journeys, a person has died every time in that room. Whoever was in that room has died. And as he's in there, he starts to notice strange things happen. He starts to feel like there's someone in the upper berth, which is the bunk above him. And at times he starts to see the screws on the porthole undoing themselves. And sensing that there's something in the upper berth above him, he reaches up and feels a cold, slimy human arm, and the thing springs up, leaves the cabin. There's this huge smell of seawater, but the bed's completely dry. And essentially what happens is him, the carpenter, and the captain of the ship all go through the cabin to see, is there anywhere somebody can hide? And then they essentially do a stakeout to find what this thing is and where it come from and why it won't go away. So on the final night, as he's sitting in there, his reading lantern, which is in the upper berth, is blown out. And then comes the final showdown. I think it's a really cool episode. There's a lot of times in it where dialogue drops or ends and it's just the sound of the ocean. This is kind of something that is a turnoff for a lot of people. But these dead spaces are not anything that are at expense of the story. For me, it kind of adds to the ambiance of it and to the tension and the isolation of this problem that they're having out at sea. They really have no resources. It's really just them doing this. And I think it's kind of an interesting look at how, because most of the radio plays that we talk about are all American-based. And this is, while it's written a story that's adapted from an American author, outside of America, you know, different films, different mediums, different cultures all have different ways of presenting horror. One of my favorite examples of this is Dawn of the Dead, because it was produced by Dario Argento, and his deal with George Romero was Dario Argento wanted to be in charge of the European cut. So there's a scene in the beginning where the FBI is raiding a high-rise apartment building, and where people have been essentially keeping their dead because they were their families. So they're trying to go in and resolve this issue. And in the American version, there's a part where one of the soldiers hits the butt of his gun against a door that's boarded up. And as soon as the door goes, hands shoot through and start attacking him, and zombies are spilling up the stairwell after them. In the European cut, the way that this is done, the guy hits the butt of his gun to the door flies open, and then there's an extra beat in the scene where it shows them looking through the fog of the door, and there's a moment before hands shoot out. And it's just a cool thing where it's like, that is kind of pulling on more of like a Hitchcock level of suspense than kind of just like in a scene that is otherwise kind of an action horror scene. They really add that beat of tension, and I kind of feel like that's what they're doing here. At least for me, I think it was effective and successful. I hope that you check it out. Look on the YouTube description for the actual name of the author. I'm sorry, I forgot that. All the other dates are there. So yes, Beyond Midnight, The Thing in Cabin 105, original air date, February 28th, 1969. Thank you.